Blog Talk Radio.
There is a mystery lurking the forested areas of the world. Many have seen something, but what is it? Are they seeing known animals? They claim they walk upright, like a human. There are so many eyewitnesses. Can they all be wrong? Is someone just playing a trick on people? Or is it possible a large bipedal being could exist in the forests of the world? You have a decision to make. Do you believe it exists? These are the topics we discuss on Sasquatch Watch Radio. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Sasquatch Watch Radio. Today is June 25th, 2013, and welcome my great co-host to the show, the Creature Seeker. How you doing tonight, Bruce?
I'm doing great, Billy. How you doing?
Doing just fine.
We have a pretty interesting topic tonight, wouldn't you say?
I would say we got a pretty interesting topic tonight, and I'm really hoping that we'll get some really good feedback from our listeners, because I think this is a subject that it's actually it's a subject that's pretty good thing to talk about. Well,
I think people have been talking about this subject within their groups, and I know a few people in other groups, and I think it's I think it's worthy of touching on, and I'd really like to hear not only from people who are veteran members of groups, but from people who may have just joined a group, and sort of get their opinions on why they joined and if it lived up to their expectations.
Yeah, and I know that anyone who has a group, I'm sure, has run into issues where they probably started asking themselves, why did I even start a group? Because it happens sometimes, and I think that a lot of folks, and we know a few ourselves, Bruce, in the field that have groups, but their group is them. It's them as an individual researcher. And go ahead.
Well, Billy, I think that for the there are a few notable exceptions, and I will not mention them here, even though I know I'm probably dying to have you mention them, but I won't. With a few notable exceptions, I think people's intentions are honorable. I think they start off the groups for the right reasons. And, as you know, whether it's a Bigfoot group or not, but any group that you start off, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of time that you have to devote to it, time that you may want to spend with your family or your friends. It's a lot of work. A lot of times it's a lot of financial resources that, you probably could have used for your family or for other things. So, you know, it tends to be one person who's championing it, but, you know, I think the hope is that you get sort of a core group, and then those other members will take on roles, and then the group itself will become, you know, more than just a one-man show.
Right. And you have to have cooperation with everyone in your group. That is, if your goal is to have a group. Well, let's do this as an example. I know that a lot of groups start up, you know, a Bigfoot research group in their state. And, you know, we of course do that as well, Sasquatch Watch Virginia. And the sole purpose of that is obviously, if I live in Northern Virginia and I get a call in Southwest Virginia, you know, it's going to take me 5 hours to get down there. So it makes sense to have members in your entire state so that when you get a report in, you have somebody close by to take care of the report. But I think that sometimes the politics can get very involving in a group. And sometimes, you know, depending on individuals within the group, you can actually cause yourself more heartache than help.
Well, I think at some point for groups that do become successful, Billy, that you reach a point where you're managing the group a little bit more than you probably wanted to, or probably, you know, had envisioned that you're going to have to. And there's a lot of personalities. Some groups are made up of various people from various backgrounds. And that's one of the strengths of having a group, is that you do have diverse backgrounds and experiences to draw from. But it's also very challenging to sort of keep the peace and make sure that, you know, that the culture of your group is something that everyone is aware of and is behind. And so, you know, a lot of people try to safeguard the credibility of their groups, and it's very difficult. It is kind of a moving target.
Right. Yeah, and and let's face it, each individual has a different. We all have different attitudes. We all have different beliefs. We all have different personalities, and sometimes those things can clash, and then sometimes they can work well together. It really depends on how well everyone works together. And
right.
I've always felt that, and I'm sure each and every group has a lot of good things to say about their membership. I know that I have a lot of good things to say about our membership. We've got a lot of good folks with a lot of different backgrounds in our group. So, it really depends. But it's very hard sometimes to keep things in such a fashion where, because not all of us believe that Bigfoot, for example, is a flesh and blood creature. Some people think that Bigfoot is something other than that. Some people think Bigfoot is human. There's nothing wrong with having different theories, but it's how you work together to prove those theories.
Right. And, it's interesting, like you said, Billy. I'll give you for an example. So, like within Sasquatch Watch, there's a member who, attended the Cabela's event, and it's an educational experience. It was a great experience. I had a lot of fun there. But one of your members chose to use it as a venue for softcore porn. And, I think that's inappropriate. But that's just me. Maybe I'm too conservative. That's what kids do nowadays. But I know he's in the chat room listening, so that's why I thought I'd take this moment to talk about it. But, so what do you do with that? You say, all right, look, you can carry on with your wife at home, but at Cabela's in front of 300 people, maybe you want to, have like a hands-off policy or something. Just watch the presenter. I don't want to embarrass this individual by saying his name, but it rhymes with Brandon.
Well, he might have to call in and give you a few words, so. He's just picking on you, Brandon.
Anyway,
I can hear him now. He's kind of saying in the back of his mind, at least I have somebody that'll give me a back massage during a speech.
I think she has to by law. I'm not sure that's something to brag about.
Anyway, I do have to say we do have a few callers. Now, I don't know if these callers have called in to just listen in, or if maybe they have something to share with us. So,
Billy,
I
officially,
go ahead.
So I don't know if we actually mentioned if the official topic for the show tonight is, Bigfoot groups. Do they have any value in today's society? So,
right.
Is it better off to be like an independent researcher? Are you better off just maybe, going out in the field by yourself? So hopefully one of these callers will chime in on that.
Yeah, and if what I will do as I'm answering the calls, I will name out the three digits of your area code. And if you're just listening in, just let me know that you're listening in. But if you want to comment, obviously just let us know, and we'll keep you on. So we'll start out with someone that I know who this is. And this would be Terry and Treba. How y'all doing tonight?
Hey, Billy. How you doing,
Terry.
Bruce?
Hey, Treba.
Hey.
So, do y'all have any comments about our topic tonight? I bet you're just full of words for that.
Well, Terry and Treba are researchers from Ohio. And they've been a team for how many years now?
I guess you'd say we'd started in '84. That's when it picked us. We didn't pick that. So,
and
when you have one sitting in the middle of the road, that kind of floors you.
Yeah.
What? So, Terry, who was sitting in the middle of the road? Was that Treba?
No,
you better look like sitting me in the road.
Well, I don't think people are familiar with your sighting account, but essentially you had a sighting and the creature was in the middle of the road, right?
Yes.
And you folks have formed the team Ohio Foot Trackers, and you've been pretty consistent. And I noticed that you've sort of shied away from having a larger group, or even though you're pretty inclusive, I would say that anybody who wants to go squatching with you, I don't think you've ever said no. Well, you told me no once, but I understand why you said that.
Don't make things up.
Hey, it seems that Terry knows you quite well.
He does. Terry and Treba and I go back a long, long ways. But they're two people that they did go squatching with anyone, and they're willing to show anyone the ropes, but they don't actively try to create a group or try to organize. And so my question to Terry and Treba is, why? Why do you just keep it the two of you and sort of shy away from forming group? Because I know you're well liked, and I know a lot of people enjoy going out into the field with you.
Well, we've been invited to quite a few, but some of them have some pretty silly rules. One of them is they want you to sign on as a do not kill. I've never been out to kill one of these things, but if it come to that, how would you make a choice? When it's either you or them, I would protect myself in Treba. So that's one thing that's kept us. There was a group down in Tennessee that wanted us to sign up. I can't adhere to those rules, so that's just a for instance.
Right. Yeah, because I think we all probably have our own, if you want to call it rules, set of rules that, it's like, and I'm similar to you, Terry. I mean, if I had a situation, I mean, obviously I'm not out to kill it, but if you had a situation where, you and Treba were out in the woods, and here you got this 8-foot tall, hairy giant coming at you, and you can tell by its facial features and what it's doing that its intentions aren't good, then you're going to do what you got to do to protect yourself.
Well, that's what I said. And are you going to get into some kind of lawsuit or something like that just because you did, protect yourself because you signed a paper?
Right.
I don't buy that.
Right. No, I agree. I agree with you.
Yeah, I agree with you, Terry. I wouldn't, I'm not out there to kill a Bigfoot, but if he comes at me, I would wing him. Good.
What you would wing? What you would wing him? What for? See if he's got a good T-bone in his arm, or?
Well, tell him what a man might do in that situation. But you're right, Terry. Sometimes you don't sign up because you don't sign up with a group because you don't agree with the rules, or they're not flexible enough, right?
Some people are quick to join something like that, and they don't think. I think I'm one of the ones that try to scratch my head and ponder things before I just jump out there, and it's served me well so far, I believe.
Yeah.
Well, would you ever consider like, making your group larger? I know you've had opportunities to do that in the past. People saying, hey, why don't you guys, get a membership going with the Ohio Foot Trackers? And what's kept you from doing just that, Terry? Why haven't you just formed your own group? And just said, look, these are our rules, and we're going to form a group. And if you don't agree, then you don't have to join. What kept you from doing that?
Well, I don't really know that I'm qualified to set rules. We have been in groups before, and you were talking about fielding your neck of the woods type investigations. I've never got the first one from anybody that I've been affiliated with. So much for groups.
Yeah.
I've always said it. I still feel this way. I'm not nailed down. I'll go out of state. We have, gone out of state. We've visited Michigan and Pennsylvania, and Indiana is one of my favorites. And all through the South on our own. I don't know. The internet is a big tool, but there's, for better lack of words, there's a whole lot of crap there.
Yeah.
I really don't have time to wade through all that. I'd rather just, if somebody contacted me, I'd definitely go, and I just don't know how to explain myself, I guess.
Well, no, I think what it boils down to, Bruce, it sounds like, and I kind of agree with what he's saying, and because you and I have had this conversation, it's, Terry and Treba, they can do what they want. If they want to go research, like he said, in another state, he can go research in another state. You know, some of these groups actually want you to report back to them, you know, and give them a, you know, like a report or whatever of what you did and blah, blah, blah. You know, Terry Tree would just go out and do what they enjoy, you know, without any set rules that they have to follow except their own.
Yep.
So it's limiting that feel of responsibility, and it's funny, Terry Tree, because this is exactly, me and Bruce had this conversation the other day. Now, I explained to him, you know, with my business, I have had thoughts of eliminating my group based on the fact that I'm trying to lessen my responsibilities. So sometimes it's just a half.
Yeah, but Billy, if you did that, then Brandon would have to carry on with his wife at his own home instead of at Cabela's. And I know what Terry's saying too, because trust me, Terry, I know some big fools on the internet as well, and you know there's something to be said about sort of the freedom of just being able to do what you want to do without being encumbered, you know, by rules and you know, expectations that you're gonna, you know, oh, you're from Ohio, what are you doing out here in West Virginia, you know? Although I would question anyone who would go to West Virginia. Let's be clear.
Certain parts, right?
Certain parts, yeah.
I think there are certain parts in every state.
Yeah. And Billy, you know yourself. It's a lot of work, is it not? I mean, people don't realize how much work it is just to.
It is. It is because you know, when you start a group, you're kind of looked upon to, you know, schedule the expeditions and schedule the outings and schedule the meetings and schedule this and schedule that, and sometimes it can be feels like it's a burden on you, and that's not the way we want it. I mean, let's face it, a lot of us enjoy this. A lot of us enjoy being out in nature, being out with our friends, you know, enjoying a nice campfire and stories around the campfire. You know, a lot of people will say, oh, that's not Bigfoot research. Well, yeah, maybe it is, maybe that's not, but at least you're enjoying life.
Right. Well, plus too, Billy, I enjoy the people I meet. So, and the people I've met so far out in the field have been really nice folks. And you know, what an opportunity do you get to meet these people? You know, like take Dave Rupert, right? So Dave is, you know, he's starting up his Legend Hunters group. You know, he's a volunteer at Creature Weekend. He's a great guy. But let's be honest, Billy. If I saw Dave out on the street, he's not the kind of guy I'd like walk up to and say hi. You know?
Say, excuse me, sir, but are you a Billy Goat?
I mean, he looks like, you know, he looks like a caveman. And, you know, if I saw, I'd be like, gotta stay away from that guy. He looks, you know, unbalanced. But, you know, because, you know, I met him out in the field at these events, I got to know him and his family, and he's just, you know, a great guy.
Right.
You know, I wish I could say the same about Brandon, though.
Oh, wow. All right. Terry Treva, do y'all want me to just put you back in the thing so you can listen?
Yeah, we're happy with being one of Bruce's groupies right now. So.
All right.
And yours, Bill.
Thanks, Treva. All right, I'll put y'all back in there. Thanks a lot.
Terry. Thanks, Treva.
Okay, and this is probably either Brian or Terry Seach.
Hello, guys.
Hey.
Hey, wow, Billy, you're a psychic.
Yeah, that's because I got their number wrote down.
Oh, okay.
Hey, great show so far, guys.
Oh, thanks, Brian.
Well, Brian, you know what? Brian's part of a group. Brian actually is part of several groups, I believe.
Yes, Brian, you're part of you're part of Q, right?
Yes.
You're part of the PBS.
Yes.
You're part of, and you started your Center for Cryptozoological Studies.
Yes. About I believe it was mid-March of last year. It hasn't been around that long yet. And as you know,
Wow.
Bruce, we've talked about you kicking me in the butt. We're trying to still get it organized and trying to take it to the next level. So, that is a cryptid-only group. And hey, just to interject, we've had our own group Q, and that's still the basis, the main group that we focused on. And we've had members come and go, and we've talked about the groups a long time, about different groups and things like that. And I do believe even the Bigfoot groups, they are viable. I think they're important, but also your independent researcher is just as important. There's nothing wrong with being in a group plus when you're own independent. We basically run both groups. Although Q is a closed group, it is a very, very loosely run. You could do your own thing and things like that and go to other states. We've never wanted to just be the PA Center for Unexplained Events. We wanted to go into different states. And just to tease you, Bruce, we are going to be going down to West Virginia. For me, it will be more of the Panhandle and up there. I'm not going to go deep in the heart of West Virginia because that kind of scares me a little bit. But we're going to be mainly on the mainly in the Panhandle. For me personally, in the Panhandle. But as you know, Fred Saluga, Billy, he'll be contacting you shortly about starting a West Virginia Sasquatch group, and he wants to try to get members all through the state of West Virginia to kind of network, and I don't know exactly how he wants to set it up. So,
right.
I'll help him with more of the Panhandle stuff because I also have Pennsylvania. We go into Eastern Ohio too, not all the way into Ohio, just the counties close to us.
Yeah.
Well, so Brian, tell me what it is. So you started your own groups. Is it because? Can you tell me the reason why you started your own group versus trying to find a group out there that maybe was already established?
Well, yeah, when we started our group Q with only 4 people, and basically it was me, my wife, my son, and another gentleman named Dave Mon. We just wanted to. There was really no other groups around. There was one or two. There was one other group around who at the time didn't accept people. So we just started to. We wanted to do a kind of a little bit different group. We wanted to document and research both. We wanted to document, collect, and if you know people who've been to our house, we've been collecting for over 25 some years. So we have a basement to prove it, Bruce, and I got to get you down here to see it sometime. So
your basement is legendary, Brian.
That's basically, we just wanted to do our own thing and look into all these mysteries, UFOs, all different kind of cryptids, anything from Bermuda Triangle, just the whole lot. We never wanted to be a Pennsylvania Center for Unexplained Events. We always figured in the back, if we ever decide to move, stay out west, we want to take the Q logo with us and just do our research out there, and so we wouldn't have to change the name. And we wanted to be very generic. We don't want to specify because I never wanted to be just a Bigfoot group. To me, there's nothing wrong with just being a Bigfoot group, but there's just so many other exciting things that you can research out there than just Bigfoot. So, and it's kind of like when you mentioned Dave. We're also part of Legend Hunters now, and Dave's kind of rekindled my interest back in the metal detecting and treasure hunting and that kind of stuff. So. Hats off to those guys. They're going to be a very, very successful group. And also with the PBS, we've been with the PBS since 2000, and I still think it's one of the top Bigfoot groups out there. Eric does a great job, and all the members, they do a great job. They're top notch. We don't get out with them as much as we want to, just because of life in general. And I've talked to you about that, Bruce. And Billy, you know that it's tough to try to do a lot of things. You have to pick and choose.
Yep.
Well,
yeah, you
do. Just be careful with Rupert because he may also rekindle your interest in homemade moonshine.
Well, you know I don't drink, Bruce, so I wouldn't do that. So.
What? I never knew that.
Yeah, I don't drink.
Wow. So
a little bit of wine or wine coolers, but that's about it.
Well, then you drink, Brian. Then you drink. You know, I mean, you can't say, "Oh, I don't drink," except for a 6-pack of beer every day. You know,
I don't drink beer. Never drank beer.
All right. So you do drink. You drink wine or wine coolers.
Very occasionally.
All right. But you are a drinker.
Being I have diabetes, I really don't even do that anymore. So.
Well, just stay clear of Rupert's cooking. You'll be fine.
Carrie's a great cook if she's listening. You missed some really good meals last week, Bruce. You wait till we see you camping in 2 weeks. Carrie will really make a good meal for you.
Is that a threat, Brian?
No, it's a promise, Bruce.
Oh, that's right. So we are actually doing our camp out the second week of July 11th through the 14th. We're doing our summer camp out there, and you're going to be there, right, Brian?
Yeah, we'll be there Friday afternoon, buddy.
Awesome. It'll be a good time.
Yeah, we can't wait. We can't wait to see all you guys again.
For details, you can go to the Creature Weekend website. It's www.creatureweekend.com, and there's a link for the summer camp out. So it should be a good time. Well,
I just wish you weren't charging $100 and promising a Bigfoot sighting. Now that's kind of discouraging.
Now, Brian, don't spread rumors. I'm only charging what the park charges us to camp there, which is $5 per person per night.
Yeah, we know. I had to teach you.
Hey, Bruce.
So, Brian, yeah.
Are you cooking hot dogs?
I'm not cooking hot dogs.
Oh, okay. I just want to make sure.
T-bones. T-bones, right, Bruce?
What's that?
T-bones.
T-bone, that's
you
right.
make a T-bone steak.
I just got to make sure he's living up to the expectations, that's all.
But hey, guys, so there's a lot of good groups out there. There's a lot of good individuals doing good work, and there's a lot of people out there. Let's face it, they're independent. They're off the radar. They might even have, probably even doing better than some of the groups because they're focusing on one area, and you don't know what kind of evidence is out there. The groups will put the evidence out, but you're independent people. There might be somebody out there that's got some fantastic proof and just not sharing it. So,
well, Brian,
what's that?
Tell me, Brian. So you're starting the Center for Cryptozoological Studies. In your mind, what is the ideal size of a crypto group, or do you even have an ideal size? Well,
I think the bigger you get, and I've kind of seen this in some other groups. It seems that the bigger you get, if money is involved, okay. And I've talked to this with Paul Johnson and a bunch of other researchers. If money is involved, that's where sometimes with dues and things like that. Sometimes that's where some things get a little hazy, or people maybe don't like it as much, or some complain, hey, there's dues, things like that. That's why I've always wanted to be loose knit. And an ideal size, I mean, I can't give you numbers. I mean, if maybe 20, but out of those 20, if you get 5 or 6 or maybe 7 that are totally active all the time, I think that's good. Numbers, if people get hung up on numbers, they'll say, my group's got 50 people. It's like, good, but how many are really active? I think that's the most important. And I think sometimes people get too hung up on numbers, myself.
Yeah. You can have a lot of numbers, of people, but how many of those people are, helping you out and really doing something. That does mean a lot, Brian.
Yeah.
Well, I think any group, has like a core membership that people you can count on to help out with the group's activities. And you're right. I think a lot of people do get hung up on that. If they organize an outing or an expedition and only 10 or 15 people show up, they're sort of put off by that. But I think that's pretty much par for the course, wouldn't you say, Brian?
Yeah, I would definitely, and I would rather have five people that have that passion and that desire to go out and do that than 20 that are just like half-assing it. I'd rather have, just somebody who, this is, to me, this is a passion for what we do. If you can't get out there with an expedition, you're reading, you're researching, you're collecting stuff. However, you can do both. You can do everything. It's like it's not one size fits all for anybody. And I think I told someone recently, don't apologize for your group. I mean, you do what you think is right, as long as you're not like bad mouthing and harming other groups. Go ahead. But once there are some groups out there that don't bad mouth other groups and don't want to work with anybody, and those are the ones you definitely want to avoid.
Yeah, you definitely want to avoid those. So Brian, who are the bad groups out there?
I don't. Bruce, you know them, Bruce.
He's trying to put a target on.
Yeah, no, I don't talk bad on anybody. They people, I'm sure we get talked bad on for us. We're one of the few groups that does dogman sightings, for God's sake. But yeah, we just kind of like to do our thing and kind of. You guys both pretty much know me. I'm still low key. I like to be in the background. It's hard for me to, which I'm getting better. Doing little speaking engagements here and there. I'm getting better getting in front of people, but I'm still basically shy about that.
You're shy?
Yes.
Wow. All right.
I think I am. I think I am. Unless I know you. If I really know you, that's different. It's hard for me to. I'm getting better at it than I was, say, 10 years ago. So.
I don't know, Brian. Every time I talk to you, you're talking my ear off.
Well, because I like you, Bruce.
So, Brian, tell me, what is your pet peeve about groups in general? You don't have to name names, but, what is the one thing that, kind of turns you off about groups or, you kind of wish that it wasn't this way?
Well, I've been in several, especially like in the paranormal field, because we were in 2 other ghost groups, and that they think that they're it, and everything they do is right, and other people don't know what they're doing. And that's probably my biggest pet peeve is thinking anybody is bigger or better than anybody else, and you don't want to learn off of anybody. You put something out there, you can't take criticism. That's my biggest pet peeve is a group thinking that they're number one and they won't even look at your evidence, or they'll tear you up, or they'll tear, your opinion doesn't matter. That's always been my biggest pet peeve about some groups. And we know that there's groups out there like that.
Yeah, don't we ever? Brian, in your opinion, all right, and I know you know a lot of groups.
Mm-hmm.
Because
in all the fields too, Bruce. Remember, ghosts, cryptids, UFOs. We've been in them all. I've been a MUFON member, everything. So we've been,
You're like the X-Files of Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
No, but let me turn the question around. What characteristics, in your opinion, make a group a good group? So if you're sort of flipping through other groups, the personalities, what is it about one group that makes it a good group versus another group?
I think the people got to get along. They got to like being out there with one another. That's the main thing. Whatever your topic you're researching on, you want to get along. You want to have some fun with this too, guys. We're amateurs. We're not paid to do this. We're not professionals. We're amateurs. We're all giving it our best shot with what our abilities are, and just that's kind of like what I have to say about that. It's just give it your best shot out there, and make sure your group's having fun too. And you know that, Bruce. When we're out with you and stuff, we have fun. And when it becomes work, or when when we're out there, we're researching. We're serious about it too, but we're having fun. You're allowed to laugh and joke around too. It's not, there's some that are just so totally, they don't even want to crack a smile. Or it's like, hey, you're allowed to do this, guys. It's supposed to be fun too. It's supposed to be fun. You can it could be serious and have fun at the same time. That's my opinion. That's how I've tried to run mine. It could be wrong, believe me. I could be totally off base, but that's just my opinion.
I agree with you, Brian, and I think Billy does too, because Billy and I have had this conversation where we say, look, you're right. We don't get paid to do this. This is something that is a passion of ours, and we're with like-minded people who also, share that passion. And we're going to go out, and you know as well as I do that when you go out there, it's normal not to have any activity or collecting evidence, and if it only takes about, the first 10 or 15 times you go out there and nothing happens, where you're like, oh man, this is not like finding Bigfoot.
No, definitely. Yeah.
Where every episode there's something going on. So we said, at least we're gonna have fun. We're gonna make it memorable. We're gonna have some laughs. And when I look back on expeditions, especially ones I've done with you and Dave and Billy, there are specific events from those expeditions that, even though the expeditions themselves didn't yield any evidence, there are some events that are etched into my mind because they're so funny.
And that makes it worthwhile. And somebody asked me one time, what if you never find, what if you, by the time you're done with all this, what if you never find anything? I'm like, well, you know what? It was a hell of a ride, and I wouldn't give up my friendships and people I know for anything. For all the money and time we spent researching and doing all of the different things, I wouldn't trade any of it, guys, any of it, because it's been a blast, and that's what life's supposed to be about.
That's right.
Yeah, I agree with you. I wouldn't trade any of it for less than $100,000.
Actually, his price is probably a lot lower than that. Probably a good prime rib would do.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Maybe like a ham and cheese croissant at Dunkin' Donuts.
or at Dairy Queen, one of your favorite places, Bruce.
I love Dairy Queen.
But the thing is, guys, I've met a lot of great guys from other groups too, and new groups, and going to the conferences, just listening to some of these people, and trying to copy and use some of their methods. And there's just people out there that can be so stubborn, they don't even want to listen to somebody else's methods. I'm like, why would you do that? You don't have to do them, but just listen to them, and maybe you can mold them with some of your own. I just, I never understood that part of it.
Brian, we're not mentioning any names of groups. Can you relate a story where that happened to you?
Where it happened?
Where you had what you thought was pretty good evidence, or your methodology you thought was pretty good, and someone just said, you don't know what you're doing, and you can't use me.
No. The one time it was kind of interesting is we were down Beaver Creek and we used some whale calls down there, and I forget who it was kind of snickering or it doesn't, and it didn't work. Okay, nothing happened, but it was funny. Couple on Finding Bigfoot, they said that they're using this brand new thing. They're using whale calls in Pennsylvania. Well, we did it in Ohio and it didn't work. It didn't work for you guys either. But it was funny until the Finding Bigfoot people do it, and it's great. We use other different methods, and hey, if it once somebody told me one time, the worst that can happen is nothing. And that's what happens 99% of the time anyway. So what do you, as long as we're not out there hurting anybody or just, why not try different things?
Yeah.
But Brian, you do know, Brian, that Pennsylvania is not really near the ocean.
Neither is Ohio.
Yeah, neither is Ohio. And I haven't seen that many whales in the Great Lakes. The reason that we did it is especially for Bigfoot, is it's out of its curiosity, and that's why we people use Bigfoot calls, things like that, ape calls. We said, hey, let's try something totally different. Let's try a whale, because it is a real low key. If there was anything there, we were hoping that maybe it would come in. That's why we do some of these things. And I don't know. I don't think Bigfoot. I think Bigfoot's a lot smarter than we give him credit for, because he's probably listening to that and saying, you know what? I bet you that's not Shamu over that ridge.
Yeah, but it's like if you read a lot of the reports of it, it does come in for different things. So possible. I mean, it didn't work, and I'm being honest with you. None of our methods have worked. So I can't, But hey, it didn't hurt. Didn't hurt anything. There might have been some campers around saying, "What the hell is that?" But other than that, it didn't hurt anybody. So
you didn't see like a mass.
Why not try it?
You didn't see like a mass exit. You didn't see a mass exodus of vehicles coming out.
No, we were down by Gretchen's Lock, so there was nobody camping at those campsites that night. But yeah, hey, just do your own thing, and doesn't work, so what? What do you have to prove? I mean, you really don't have to prove anything to anybody unless you would happen to maybe give evidence that you want to throw out there. But other than that, I don't care.
Right. Right. Now, Brian, was you listening on the show on the phone?
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna mute you out. I got another guy in here with his hand up, so I'm gonna get him on here and see. But thanks for calling in, Brian. We appreciate it.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, Brian, thanks so much.
Okay, we'll see you in a couple weeks, guys.
All right.
All right, bye.
Okay, and we got a caller from the 307 area code. You're on the air.
Hi there, guys. My name is Nate. I'm a first-time caller. How y'all doing?
I'm doing just fine. Thanks for calling in.
Hello, Nate.
I got 3 quick points. I don't want to take up all your time, but I think, Billy, you and Bruce are like the car talk of the Bigfoot world. I listen every week, and I get lots of laughs, and I learn a lot of things as well.
Well, that actually makes me feel pretty good. I'm glad that we are able to make you laugh.
Awesome. Well, the first thing that I want to share about Bigfoot Groups is that for people like myself who've had an encounter and were complete, absolute skeptics,
yeah,
it's so nice to talk to someone else that had experiences that can kind of help frame it and doesn't think you're crazy.
Right. Yeah,
groups didn't exist.
Right.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, we actually get a lot of people that say exactly what you just said, that they didn't know who else to go to, so they go, they kind of hook up with like-minded people, and they feel very comfortable telling their story because they're not going to get laughed at.
Right.
And it's nice to be able to ask questions and field stuff off and learn stuff because, I've been out in the woods probably like every other person that's had this kind of encounter, my whole life and never thought this is a possibility until, lo and behold, then there's tracks that are 22 inches, long, and they're in the middle of nowhere, absolutely middle of nowhere. And then the next day you go 30 miles south to another area on the way to some other ranch, and they're the same exact tracks going southward. And you're like, what the hell is this? And then you call up someone. So that's my second quick point. And then the third point is, I don't know where to go with this, but the person that I contacted, and this was last March, my experience, was in the BFRO. He was a very, very nice gentleman, knew all kinds of things. But my experience, it wasn't a face-to-face, so I didn't see a Sasquatch walking around. I thought I heard things. I definitely saw tracks, and I took lots of pictures. I saw tracks on 2 different occasions. One different occasion, I felt there's something here with me because it felt like being in a haunted house. All of a sudden, you're just not supposed to be there. It just felt weird. It was up in the chest. It's this, I don't know how to describe it, but I was able to talk with this gentleman and lay out all kinds of information, but then, I kept checking months later to see if on that website for the BFRO, if my encounter would have been posted, and it wasn't. And it got me to wondering about who's in charge of all this information.
Right.
And I'm just singling out the BFRO, but if a lot of encounters that one certain person or a couple of different people don't think it's legitimate or whatever reason they don't get posted, or maybe there's just someone that doesn't have the time to post all these reports, but I just thought, this is kind of weird. There's all this information because where I wasn't a part of Wyoming, that there were no report. I couldn't find anything on the internet.
Right.
And then when I talked to this gentleman, he said, well, the first person to see a Sasquatch family in your neck that was Jeremiah Johnson, the Robert Redford film.
Sure, I remember that.
He said, this has been documented 3 times, and lo and behold, there's a Montana to the Rockies on the eastern border of Nebraska, Wyoming. There's nothing. There's no towns. There's no ranches. It's so hilly and rocky in that foothill range. It's just nothingness. And it's like a highway going north and south. And so I thought maybe people are protecting different territories, and I like the idea of not all the information being shared. But I look at the BFRO and I watch those shows, and I think this is kind of like you've got what's the word, when you have misinformation being deliberately put out there to maybe cover up something. And I know we all know it's television. They're not going to prove a Sasquatch or anything, because it's just not ever going to happen. And the people that you have actual.
Right. Plus the show would be over.
Sure. Sure. So they got to keep it going, but it just, I don't know. I definitely think that there have been bodies of Sasquatch found ever since time immemorial, and these are people and whatnot, and that's another show. But it's just interesting, and I'll let you guys go so you can get other callers. But what do you guys think about where's the information going, and what's going to end up being the big picture with all this information being collected from all these groups and all these data? Where's that going? So that's my question, and then I'll take it off the air, guys, so you get other time for other people. But I love the show. You guys keep doing what you're doing.
All right, thanks a lot.
Nate, before you go, I just have 2 questions for you.
Sure.
The first question is, which part of the country are you from?
I'm in Illinois right now.
Okay. And then the second question is, can I assume that you joined a group?
No, I'm solo. I wasn't able to. The guy that interviewed me said, there's a select group that goes in Nebraska and Wyoming, and this was a couple years ago before my dad died, and I was out there taking care of him. And I never heard back from anybody, and I didn't have time to do it because my dad had stage 4 cancer. But I'd like to, but I'm also at the point now where I kind of do what I think a lot of your listeners do, which is learn a bit more, listen to other people's opinions, and kind of we want to be in a respectful distance. Some of us don't have the time or energy to go out squatching, but we want to kind of be involved, for a sake of just kind of being respectful. This is a mystery, and I personally don't ever need it, be brought to light and put in a zoo or whatever. I think there's a lot of indigenous stuff around it with natives and whatnot, but there's a lot of us that just like to, for the sake of our own personal research, kind of watch from the sidelines, and it's not for entertainment. You guys are highly entertaining, but, it's just about respect to me. I don't feel right about going in the woods and knocking on trees.
Right.
If they're there, they're there, and they've been there forever. What I do, and this is what happened right before my sighting, so I don't know if this was linked to it, but I go out in the woods and I pick up trash. I go out where nobody's there. And I just feel like this is a place that's been neglected, and maybe, something, that's my own personal spirituality, maybe it needs to be, tended to. So that's what I do. And I was doing that in that area where there's a bunch of people that go shooting, and they just litter the canyon with shells and all this noise. Non-stop. And there are ranges in the area where people can go to. And this particular area was close to a reservoir with a lot of elk and whatnot. And I thought, these poor critters have to hear this damn stuff all day long. So I was out there doing my thing, that rattle and picking up trash. And so maybe that's linked to it. But
that's actually a great idea. Because
you're out there. That is a great idea.
And you're doing nature a service, number one. Number two, you're doing something where, you hear a lot of researchers talk about if you go out looking for Bigfoot, you're never going to see it. But yet you were out there doing something totally opposite. You were out there, picking up trash, and, you probably have a better chance of having a sighting than anyone. So.
Well, it was during my dad's passing, and I was in a real, I needed something. And this, when I saw those tracks, I was out there for 3 hours. I looked right and left. Has this been faked? How did this? It made it really just changed my entire relationship with being outside. It's completely different now, and it'll never, ever be the same again, and I'm grateful in a way because it just makes me go deeper into my relationship with the natural world. You know, let's leave it a little better place, but let's also, you know, people aren't leaving trash in my living room, you know, and coming to my house and banging pots and pans. So if there happens to be a family of whatever there, I should just be a little respectful.
Right.
And that's my bottom line.
Yep.
Wow.
Well, I appreciate
That's great.
it. Yep.
Cool. Thanks, guys. Enjoy the show. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Nate.
You take care. Bye-bye.
Wow.
All right.
That's really inspiring, Billy.
Oh, yeah, it is. It is.
Let me grab
this.
When I go out in the woods, Billy, I'm talking trash, and here this guy is. He's picking it up.
Right.
No.
Well, talking trash, I don't think leaves trash on the ground, so you should be okay there.
Oh, that's
all right,
great.
and,
you know, that
we've
was
got
a great
about
caller.
Yeah, it was. We've got about 4 minutes left, so let me get this other caller that's got their hand up from area code 334.
Hello.
That would be you. Who are we talking to?
I'm Rhonda Kelly, way down in the Chattahoochee River in Seal, Alabama.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah, they have a Chattahoochee Bigfoot group that started here. I don't know if you know Reverend Paul Holsey is in North Alabama. He invited me to come up there. I have my own incident is just similar to the other gentleman that just called. I've had land that's surrounded by thousands and thousands of acres of trees. I have 200 springs on just 14 acres that I personally own. What got me going was things were happening that I didn't understand in my own backyard that didn't make any sense when I moved to where I moved. And I never had seen tracks. I had heard, I originally bought my land. There was no one here. I would come out here to go hunting as a woman. And I would go down a hill and up this hill, be out of breath, bend over, and I would get someone laughing at me. That's weird. I'm like, this repeated every time I would go hunting. And I just had enough. And I was like, this is ridiculous. What's going on here? And so I assumed, I said, okay, this must be a ghost. This must be something like that. And through time, I kind of got into that cryptid line, like, oh, okay, this must be a ghost. And I started asking questions, and I started getting answers. Well, then I moved onto the property, and 17 years later, I somehow I heard several people talking about Bigfoot was sighted right there, right down the road from you here, and right down the road there, and over here. And I heard other women talking about seeing them. I had went to buy a dog, and this lady was telling me in her childhood she had seen them, and I was like, no, this is interesting. So I purchased books, and I began reading, and I began questioning, how can a creature exist among us, and we don't really know it? Well, then I started thinking, well, how did, they used to think there was no gorillas, and they used to think, Native Americans were not humans. You know, they didn't even believe they were human. So we've evolved. And so as I got the book, started reading, I saw things that were happening in my own backyard were the things that people were reporting. I was like, this is really awesome. I have horses down here, and their hair kept getting braided. And I'm like, well, isn't that the coolest thing? I saw a picture. I said, that's the same braid, thousands of miles away. And then I have hens in a hen house, and just a few eggs would be missing. Didn't make sense, but I thought, well, maybe we got a wild person living in the woods. You try to make all these excuses. And eventually, my brother and my son had wanted to go bow hunting. And they're not afraid of anything. and they come flying out of the woods. Like, what in the blank have you got in your woods? I'm like, what are you talking about? It was funny. I had already, put in my head, this must be a Bigfoot out here somewhere. I had occasional smells, but not really much. But I've been hunting many, many times, and I think there is one. He likes me. I'm a female. He doesn't like them. Because now I'm starting to hear other hunters tell me they've heard these ungodly screams and squeals and things. And so putting the pieces together to this puzzle, I'm getting the answers.
So you think that this Bigfoot is trading the mane of your horses?
Oh, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Because you
Really?
don't go out and undo your horse's hair and then you come back a day or two later and it's braided back the same way. A horse can't do that. Something had to have done it, That's just straight. So I left it.
What? That's troubling. I wouldn't be so concerned about the braids, but if you come back and you see highlights, then I get scared.
No, now be nice. I'm a disabled military. Okay, the question you were asking about the groups. I'm a disabled military veteran. I go every week to a group, and you're disabled vets with PTSD and mental, psychological problems, whatever. And groups are groups. There's always personalities, but you've got to understand that you can't trust the government, number one. And number two, if you go ahead and form a group, if it's a group of two, you've succeeded. Because you need validation no matter what you're doing. And so you guys ought to be proud of yourself if you've got a group in Virginia. I tried to get with the gentleman that's right here near me. I've invited him to my home, gave him my phone number. He's never come. He's never visited. If you're going to be the one that starts the group and you're not traveling more than, I'd say, an hour's drive maximum, then you should be able to travel 1 hour to that person's house. They should feed you, and you should be able to go home. You should have a conversation and go home. If you want to spend more than, the day there just talking, but you should be able to communicate at any time. But you shouldn't have to travel, if you're a group leader, more than 1 hour from your home. If you're going to someone else, like I did in North Alabama, it's a 6-hour drive. I have told him, okay, I've got you advance notice here. I have a cousin. Let's do this when it cools off. So we've agreed on a date and a time, and I said, let him it's his area. He should set the date. I'll just tell him when's best for me. So I don't mind taking the traveling time. But as far as when you start asking for money, it's just like you said, people are going to no, they're just out to make money.
Yeah.
And the most important thing in a group would be if you're collecting evidence, the best thing that the two of you in your group can do is start writing the stories down. Record the stories, write the story, go back to the person who originally told you the story, get them to verify what they said, sign it, and date it that this is what they said, and this is what they saw, and this is when they saw it, and how they saw it, and start collecting these in an album or a book, and so you can start to get as you say, a triangulation of what you've got. Mm-hmm. Because you'll start to find that they're no different from one area to the other, and also they're like people. You've got people that are very, like you two guys, practical jokers, very funny. You got people very serious, and you got people who just very evil.
Yes.
Or Bigfoot is the same way, and I believe they have societies like we do. I think there's some that are curious about us, naive, and then there's experienced ones that have had bad things happen to them in reaction to us, so they're like standoffish. And then you've had ones that flat out just don't get along with people. You know, they happen to be in a bad location, so they've harmed people, and they know they can get away with it.
Right.
I mean, we've got people that kill people, so why wouldn't they want to kill us?
Sure.
You know, I see the point. You've got to look all the way around the circle. It's not a straight line. It's a circle. And so you've got to touch on that little scale. Where are we? And each one should have you guys should set up, get the ones that are very active, you should set up a code 1 to 10. Where do you rate your Bigfoot? 1 to 10, dangerous. Is he non-dangerous? Have you seen him? Have you not seen him? Y'all need to sit down and make some. I'm in the South, y'all. You need to make some decisions on, you know, how we're going to rate each sighting, just like the BFRO does. Well, I don't know if the BFRs, like he said, do you trust them? Are they reliable, or are they government? Because if they're government, you don't want them involved.
Well, I agree with you. I agree with you on one thing. I don't trust the government.
Yeah, I agree with you too. I would like to say that I agree with you on that, but I'm afraid the government is listening to us right now.
No, actually, they aren't, because we haven't said any code words that triggered off the Trojan in the National Security Agency. So now that I said NSA, they're going to be listening. I think there's a drone flying above me right now. So I think you're paranoid and you need some help. I don't think you can do this job and be successful at looking for your Bigfoot if you're paranoid. I mean, but I'll tell you what is so good about you guys, you've got to stand up for yourselves, and that I'm a handicapped veteran. I can't walk through those woods, and I can't walk up and down hills. If you're a healthy individual and you put your video on YouTube, whether you see one or not, if you learn how to film good, slow, easy, quietly, don't add music, that's ridiculous. You're defeating your purpose. People like me can live vicariously through you. I may not be able to get on those woods, but when you're filming, I may see something that you didn't see, and if I'm in a group with you, I can go to your group and say, hey, at 2.34 seconds, I saw this in this part of the frame, and it blinked or it moved, and you can go back and look and verify that. You can go to your area, and so being in a group is great. I can be way down here, and I can help you way up there.
Well, you know what? I have to admit that what you just said is something that I've never really thought about. You know, folks like yourself where, you know, you can't get out into the woods. You know, I never really thought about how, you know, you can enjoy what we're doing by watching the videos. Did you ever think of it that way?
My quality of life is just amazing because I can put on some beautiful headphones on my iPad when I don't want to watch the junk on television, and you can go through the snow, crunch, crunch, crunch. I'm in there with you. Yeah. Every time your foot hits the ground, I'm crunching right there with you. And when you go, look, Jack, over there to the left, did you see it? I'm Jack too. I'm like, yeah, where, what? What'd you see? You know, I'm there. I'm in the moment, and it's a really fantastic escape. It's a really good blessing that people who put these videos on YouTube do for people like me.
Yeah, never thought of it that way.
It's a lot to do.
Kind of glad that you brought it up.
That's some great feedback. I personally, I live vicariously through people who are sane. And
well, then if you're living with the same people, like you said, funny, and they're really boring, and you shouldn't have normal people in your group because you can't do this if you're normal. And like you said, you are criticized for being different.
Yeah.
But I've learned from the time I was a child, different is cool, you know. Yeah. Different is where it's at, you know. If you're an average Joe, you are the most boring And if you're quiet, Joe, you're pretty boring too. So, but I like to respect the people who start the group. I don't want to interfere with what they're doing, but I do like to ask questions so that I can learn how to be a better observer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've tried this, that, like you said, the whale calls or something didn't work.
Yeah.
Right. We have another guy in Alabama. It goes by Green Wave something on YouTube. He breaks down all the videos, and he researches them, and he slows them down, and he step-by-steps them, and he takes measurements. I mean, he really breaks these videos down. And I'm like, oh, my gosh, this is utterly amazing. I don't think I would have really believed in Bigfoot had I not seen them numerous times now in the YouTube videos, in numerous locations.
Right.
But I really do now. I believe they're there, and I believe each one of them judges us when we come in the woods by what we do. Like the young man picking up trash, like you said, they say, hey, this man's not destroying my house where I live. He's cleaning it. He's taking that junk that other guy left.
Yeah, that's a good
They're
point.
going to welcome him. It's your house. If you're going into their place where they live, you got to realize that's their home. If you break a limb on a tree, you broke something in their house. And you've done something that's going to make them wonder, why did he break the limb on my tree?
Well, just tell me where I need to go to raid their fridge.
Honestly, they're not much different than a bear. Whatever's in season, because I have brought children out here to the woods with me, and they said, well, what are we going to have for lunch? I said, well, what are you willing to get off the ground or up in the air? And they look at me like I'm crazy. And I will pull up weeds and make lemonade out of a spring. And they're looking at me, how did you do that? You know, I said, there's plenty of stuff here. You've got a stomach ache or a headache. I know where to get the medicine. It's out there. You just have to pick it up off the ground.
Well, trust me, if you've ever had...
The pine tree is the greatest gift to the Americas. You can eat every part of the pine. If you're sick and nauseated, you bend those needles over and you start chewing on them, your nausea is gone. I mean, there's a lot of things out there. If it's blackberry season, just walk all day long and eat blackberries. If there's persimmons on the tree, eat the persimmons. But they do store, like other animals, they store nuts because they need that protein in the winter. So they'll be going in and out of their main cave system that I believe they live in, or their main area, and they'll be storing up nuts. So, and I happen to live where there's a gazillion hickory nuts. And so I'm sure they come on my property because all around me is tree companies. So they've cut down all the natural hickory trees, and there's nothing but pine. Well, if they need those nuts, they have to come to my property.
Yeah.
So I think that's why they're here. They come when the nuts fall off the tree, they gather up those nuts, and off they go. I've got muscadines or grapes. You know, there's a certain season you can walk through here, shake a tree, and you've got all the grapes you want. So you tell me how they survive. The groceries are out there. I've got sassafras trees. You pull them up. The roots are there. They're delicious. You put them in water, and you got plenty of nutrients. If you get you a book on plants, edible plants, you'll realize that there's a virtual grocery store in your backyard.
Oh, believe me, we've got a member in our group that can tell you everything in the woods to eat.
And isn't that wonderful?
Billy, don't forget, if you ever get invited over to the Rupert's house for dinner, trust me, you'll be picking stuff off the ground and trying to boil it too. So.
Yeah, listen, I'm always surprised. I always be open-minded and always be willing to try new things, and you'll be successful.
I agree.
So,
well, thank you so much.
Good luck. If anybody wants to contact me, I'm one word, Phoenix Creek Ranch, spelled like Phoenix, Arizona, at Facebook. So I'm on there. You know, just drop me a line.
Sounds
right.
great.
Appreciate talking
Thanks.
to you guys, and I'm glad somebody invited me to listen to you tonight.
Oh, thanks.
Well,
I'm glad
thanks for calling in.
You're welcome. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye. You know, Billy, she learned as a kid that being different was cool. I learned as a kid that being different means you're the last to get picked for kickball. So we had some great callers tonight, Billy.
Yeah, we did. I was getting ready to tell her that because she was talking about inviting you for a meal. She can drive 100 miles. I was getting ready to tell her, well, Bruce will travel from the north to the south for a meal. So several thousand miles for a meal. Especially if she tells you you're having prime rib.
Yeah, it's true. I travel long distances for prime rib.
But anyway, no, I'm glad we had a lot of great callers tonight, and I appreciate every one of them. We had a couple people tell us that we're funny, Bruce. We must be doing something right.
I don't know. Maybe they're listening to a different channel and just have us confused with someone else.
Oh, well. Anyway.
But, Billy, I do enjoy the show, and I know you do too. So I think when you're having fun doing something, I think, that sort of comes out,
Yep, I agree. Well, anyway, we thank everybody for hanging out with us tonight and, calling in and giving us your 2 cents on our topic tonight. I think it was great. Next week, I'll go ahead and put out the teaser. Next week, we're going to have Kathy Strain from, I believe she's California, and she just got back.
Billy,
yeah, go ahead.
How is that a teaser? You just said a teaser means that you'll sort of intimate what's going to happen, but you just came right out and said it.
Yeah, come out and said it, but they don't know. But they don't know what great information she's going to bring.
Well,
so all they need to know. Listen, all they need to know is Kathy Strain's coming on next Tuesday night, and she just got back off of a 3-week expedition.
All right. I think what you just said is more of a preview than a teaser.
Okay.
A teaser would be, hey, next week we have a great guest who hails from, the West Coast, and you just came right on and said what was going to happen.
Oh God, y'all give me a hard time.
Thanks for the preview, Billy.
Okay, you're welcome. So anyway.
Wow.
All right. Well, I think we'll call it a show for tonight. And thanks everyone for tuning in. Thanks for everyone coming into the chat room. And of course, not a whole lot goes on in the chat room other than people, making fun of each other and kind of stuff.
You know what goes on in the chat room, Billy? Allison, she knows the show starts at 9, but she logs on at like 9:57 and complains like, "Oh, you guys, the show is too short. You guys need to have a longer show." It's like, listen, Allison, if you were on time, you would have caught the show, like more of the show. But you log in at 3 minutes before 10, and then you complain. That's what goes on in the chat room.
Okay. All right. So anyway, all right. Well, we'll go ahead and cut it out for tonight. And thanks for everyone for listening in. Thanks, Bruce, for being on, and we'll see everybody next Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern.
Not 9:57, Allison.
Not 9:57. 9 p.m. Eastern.
9 p.m.
So good night,
everyone. Good night, everyone.
Thank you for joining us on another episode of Sasquatch Watch Radio. Remember to join us again next Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. We appreciate every one of our listeners. thank you so much for being here.
With Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to... Has anyone seen the bride and groom?
Sorry, we're here. We were getting lucky in the limo and we lost track of time.
No, Lucky Land Casino, with cash prizes that add up quicker than a guest registry.
In that case, I pronounce you lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Daily bonuses are waiting. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.